see, won't we? Anyway, look, that's the Premier League review. And we'll talk to an Ipswich fan in just a second. They are back in the Premier League. They beat Huddersfield 2-0. And we'll talk to Craig Finbow from the Ipswich Blue Monday podcast in just a second.
Premiership! Done and dusted for George Burley.
Brum, 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 brum. Here we go, you tractor boys.
Leif Davis on the half volley, deflected it in! And Ipswich Town have their first goal back in the Championship.
Ipswich are the first newly promoted side to win their first 3 games in the Championship since Southampton and Brighton back in 2010-11. Saints won promotion that year. You wonder.
For the supporters, it's nice to dream, but also I hope they keep enjoying these moments as well.
It's been such a phenomenal season. It's been a phenomenal couple of years under Kieran McKenna.
I've got Kieran down for the manager of the year, not just for the Championship, the manager of the year. It's wonderful what he's done.
I honestly never thought I'd see this day.
This is absolutely incredible! I don't believe my eyes! Ipswich have won 3-2 in the 97th minute!
They'd lost the soul of the club almost for years, but it is back. So it all comes down to this.
This is what moments are made of.
West Barnes! Like the blue touch paper!
We have a saying, running towards adversity, and they've done that for the last 2 seasons.
Hutchinson to the edge of the area, shot, goal!
Feels amazing, I have to say. It's so many emotions, but all positive.
Enjoy this for as long as they possibly can.
Ipswich are back in the Premier League.
Yeah, well, on to Ipswich, promoted to the Premier League. Let's speak to Craig Finbow from the Ipswich Blue Monday podcast. Craig, how you doing?
Unsurprisingly, Max, I'm very, very well. Thank you for asking.
Good. I was just thinking, and obviously, like, Ipswich are bigger than Cambridge, right? But if Cambridge ever got to the Premier League and then someone played me a 2-minute montage of them being great the morning after we'd got promoted to the Premier League, I'd just be crying. Like, I just would, like, I don't know if you're like, I don't know what level of emotion you're at the moment.
Well, funnily enough, I've been up since about 5:30 watching, firstly, pretty much the entire Sky programme from yesterday, including about 2 or 3 hours post-match, and then finding every single YouTuber I could find and clips and everything. But yeah, and it is, and a man of my advancing years, it still does get you a little bit teary as you watch.
How long have you been doing the podcast?
The pod's been going since 2015, so pretty much the season after Norwich beat us in the semi-finals of the playoff, we started the pod, and since then it's pretty much been a downward spiral until the last couple of years, really. So yeah, if you want to lay the blame anywhere, you can probably lay it fully at our feet. And
did you ever think, like, you know, when you were, like, you know, kicking about in League One, like, did this moment, like, because hope is everything, right? And Kieran McKenna's clearly given you hope. But, like, did you have that still? Or were you very much like, oh, this is a trudge?
Well, it sort of depends where you want to start that situation. It's because the first couple of years in League One were a trudge. And as people will know, we were in the Championship for 17 years. And there weren't many highlights of those 17 years. And you think, right, we eventually dropped down without much of a whimper, let alone a kicking and screaming. And you think, right, this is it. This is a chance to reset. We'll go down to League One. We'll visit a few new grounds. The club will just reset itself and we'll come back all guns blazing. Well, that didn't happen. 2 years later, we're still down in there, seeing the same grounds we went to the previous year and thinking, God, you know, we don't see light at the end of the tunnel here. And it wasn't until such time as the owners changed, and pretty much ever since then, it's had a rocket put under it, the club.
Yeah, Craig, so Game Changer bought the club in 2021, American Consortium. They appointed Mark Ashton as CEO. He and Director of Football Gary Probert appointed Kieran McKenna, and everything seems to have worked out very nicely.
Yeah, there hasn't been any downsides really, Barry. When Kieran came in, the first thing he did, we were about 11th or 12th, I think, in League One, and the first thing he did was basically just make us a bit more solid until the end of that year, until the end of that season. But then the start of the next season onwards, it's been an upward trajectory. You know, it's not only the points we score, it's the goals we score, it's the football that we play. It's just been phenomenal. And I appreciate that when we were in League One with Kieran McKenna and had an injection of cash, we were pretty much building a championship squad while sitting in League One. And certainly the second half of the season last year when we got promoted, the results and the performances were showing that. They were sort of laying the nest for a season in the Championship, which you'd probably think was going to be a season of consolidation in the Championship. But it just goes to show that when the team's together and they're playing with each other each week and they know each other's games and they've got one of the brightest coaches in the country, it just does show, as Max says, that the hope for other clubs, if you go along similar lines, you don't know what can happen.
I keep hearing about this wonderful football Ipswich play under McKenna. I haven't seen enough of it to know what it's about. How does this manifest itself?
Yeah, well, it's pretty much possession. Well, in League One, it was very much possession. It was 60-70% possession, just all-out attack, pretty much. And we all wondered what's going to happen when we go to the Championship. You're not going to all of a sudden be able to go toe-to-toe with these bigger clubs that you'll find in the Championship. But we probably have tailed off a little bit in terms of the possession. We're very much a pressing side. And as the goals will attest, we've scored 101 goals last year and 92 goals this year in the Championship. And it's not as if we're relying on a single goal scorer scoring the vast majority of those goals. The guys are top scorers, probably 12 or 13. There's a couple of those. So it's very much an open attacking football. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to translate into the Premier League. I can't imagine we'll be going toe-to-toe with Man City on their patch like we have been in the Championship.
But, I guess just you don't need to worry about that quite yet. Do you? The Wes Burns goal, right? The goal that everyone will have seen this season, this unbelievable passing move. And then he just puts it in with the outside of his right foot. It's just like one of the best goals, I think, ever in the history of the game.
Yeah, and as you rightly say, that started at the back. It started with the goalkeeper who, we picked up on a free transfer from Salford a couple of seasons ago. So, and you can go throughout the team and you say Wes Burns, he was the wing back from Fleetwood Town that we picked up for 70k or something like that. And it just goes to show that Kieran McKenna just improves players. It doesn't matter what stage of their career they're at or which club that they've come from. He just makes players better. And you can almost sort of see it with your own eyes happening during the course of a season. People like Omari Hutchinson came in from Chelsea as a youngster. It's his first ever senior season of men's football, if you see what I mean. At the beginning of the season, he looked like an academy player. He'd have a touch, he'd fall over, he'd be sitting on his backside with his arms in the air wanting a foul. Now he's the guy that's chasing people back. He's the guy that's putting tackles in. He's the guy that's now winning games and scoring goals for us. So, it's testament to the coaching that these guys are receiving, that you can actually see these fellas improve on a week-to-week basis.
You've only lost one game at home in each of the last two league seasons. That is a remarkable record. What's the secret behind it?
Well, I think certainly in League One it was because, not wishing to sound too big-headed, teams just couldn't cope with us. As I said, our budget was larger than it should have been in League One, and as a result, we had better players than others did in League One. In the Championship, we've just carried on the way that we had, and even that Leeds game that you referred to there, Barry, the one that we did lose, that was 4-3. So it wasn't a cagey 1-0 loss. It was 4-3. We conceded 3 goals from Leeds in the space of 9-10 minutes, which you can do against Leeds when they've got the tails up and they're flying. So yeah, it's just been attack, and there have been in those games. Don't get me wrong, there have been some times where we've been behind and we've got late goals, but that's another thing that we do. We get accused of being lucky, but we're also a team that will attack for 60 minutes. We'll then take off our front four, and Kieran McKenna will bring on another 4 attackers, and we'll just go again. It's not really luck. It's just the way that they play. They're pretty incessant in the way that they attack games.
And East Anglia isn't necessarily a hotbed of football, but I think fans, in other parts of the country might look down on it a little bit and think that, people don't care as much. But give us an idea what this means for the town of Ipswich.
And I think that you're right there, Max. I think that may be one of the largest benefits we've seen since the takeover. And as Barry says there about Mark Ashton taking over, he's got it. Since he moved into the club, he's got it. He's reintroduced the foundation. The amount of work that goes on at the club outside of match days is now exponentially larger than it was when they took over. You've got the disabled teams, you've got the people who are less fortunate than others have clubs on at the ground. The players are going out into the schools. there's footage from this week of Mark Ashton going into the primary schools and all the kids in the hall are all wearing blue, etc. And it has been one of those. It's been a transformative 2 years, really. Previous to that, Barry will know more than most. It was a pretty dreary place to be, and the fans weren't happy. It could be a toxic sort of place. And in and around the town and the county, you'd see Man U shirts, you'd see Liverpool shirts, you'd see Chelsea shirts, etc. Now it really is all blue, and it's just great. I think if anything comes of this, it will be that hopefully we've managed to capture a generation of new fans, whereas we were in potentially losing a generation for the previous 20 years or so.
Do you want Norwich to come up with you?
No, they can stay where they are.
Is that because you are utterly incapable of beating them?
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, there's 2 games you won't win. Should we go over to the Premier League? No, I just like them to. They go on about not beating us for 15 years. Well, it's not going to be for 16 years, hopefully, because they'll be in a league below. So, I don't really mind who comes up as long as Norwich really they've had their time in the Premier League.
That is the kind of pettiness I can get behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, well, look. Carry on.
I was going to say, I think everyone's a little bit bored of seeing Norwich. It's one of those yo-yo teams. People want to see a bit of fresh blood in the Premier League, so give someone else a go, eh?
Well, look, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time. Congratulations.
Yeah,
thanks you.
Craig.
Cheers, guys.
Craig Finbow there from the Ipswich Blue Monday podcast. Congratulations to Ipswich and Leicester, of course, and those playoff games. Leeds, Norwich and Southampton, West Brom to see who joins them in the Premier League. It's Max and Barry here till 1:30.